the processor. So I will explain to you about single cycle CPU data path. Okay, so those who have your module, you can open it. And then as for the others, I have upload this slide in ULearn on week. Okay, so you can find out the chapter 8 in the slide on week 10. Okay, so previously on chapter 4 and 5, okay, you have learned about the combinational elements, right? So to build a data path in your CPU, okay, so basically you will have a combinational element. For example, you will use multiplexers. Multiplexers ni actually is a multiplexers punya singkatan to select among inputs. So remember, the multiplexers is dependent on the control bits. Okay, as control bit, which means that we need to select from 2 power of s input. Okay, so in this case, okay, in the red circle here, okay, there are several red circles here whereby data line cannot simply be wired together, so we must add a logic element that chooses from among the multiple sources and steers one of those sources to its destination. Okay, so means that kalau ada several sources, kalau kita tengok kat sini, arrow tu ada 2 kan, meaning that sources tu comes from multiple multiple sources yang datang daripada tempat-tempat lain ataupun kita kata from different operation. Okay, so it doesn't have to be at the same time, but the circuit must be able to choose. Okay, must be able to choose. So that's why we call this as a selection. So selection means that to select data source, okay, going through ataupun kita kata to steer into its destination. So it's commonly done with the device ataupun kita kata element multiplexer, although this device might better be called a data selector. Okay, so for a chapter processor, kita panggil multiplexer ni sebagai data selector lah. Okay, and then another combinational logic yang kita guna juga dalam chapter processor adalah kita panggil sebagai arithmetic or logic unit. Okay, so arithmetic or logic unit ataupun kita kata function tu y is equal to function of a and b. Okay, function apa kita tak tahu lagi dekat situ. Okay, so it can be arithmetic. Okay, it can be arithmetic yang mana f tu kita gantikan sama ada kita nak add, kita nak subtract, kita nak multiply ataupun kita nak divide. Okay, other function is logic yang mana kita panggil sebagai logic yang mana kita boleh buat function and or not. Okay, and or not ataupun kita kata XOR ke ataupun other logic function lah yang kita belajar dalam chapter 4 dan 5. Okay, and then untuk sequential element, okay, one of the component yang kita pakai dekat dalam processor adalah namanya registers. Okay, yang mana register ni akan store data in a circuit. Okay, so dalam processor, the register use a D flip-flop. Okay, use D flip-flop yang mana it uses a clock signal to determine when to update the store value. Okay, so they use an age trigger. Remember age trigger tu yang mana yang dia akan naik kemudian dia akan turun macam tu So bila dia naik dan turun tu kita panggil dia sebagai age trigger yang mana dia akan update when clock, CLK tu clock changes from 0 to 1. Okay, from 0 to 1. So clock ni kita panggil dia sebagai age trigger right? So dia kata clock tu starting daripada ni dia naik kemudian sampai ke sini. So itu satu clock cycle. Okay, clock cycle kedua dia akan start lagi age trigger daripada 0 ke 1 and then 1 ke 0 sampai ke situ and then that is what we call as another one clock cycle. And then clock cycle 3 pun sama. So dia mesti pattern yang sama lah. Okay. So, untuk CPU clocking ni, for each instruction, how do we control the flow of information? Through the data path. Okay, so Okay, so single cycle CPU. Right now we are learning about single cycle CPU, right? So, setiap stages dalam instruction tu will be completed within one long clock cycle. Yang mana kalau kita kata add, okay, add, kita macam tu, add register 10, register 8, register 9, katakan macam tu kan. Okay, so to execute this instruction, okay, kita kata kita complete within one long clock cycle, kita macam tu. So it must be completed in this one long clock cycle. So clock cycle sufficiently long to allow each instruction to complete all stages without interruption within one cycle. So untuk one long clock cycle ni kita kata it is enough to complete this add instruction lah. Kita kata macam tu. Okay. So within this one clock cycle tu dia akan buat beberapa steps ataupun kita kata beberapa stages. One is instruction fetch, and then dia decode, dia execute, dia memory, and then lastly dia buat register write. So ini adalah stages-stages yang berlaku lah. Maknanya dalam satu clock cycle tu dia must finish these stages, all these stages. Okay, alternatively kadang-kadang kita ada multiple cycle CPU. So only one stage of instruction per clock cycle. So contoh, one small clock cycle, kita panggil satu one small clock cycle ni adalah untuk satu stages, another clock cycle, another stages. Stages ketiga satu clock cycle, stages keempat satu clock cycle dan stages kelima adalah satu clock cycle. So apa yang dia buat adalah clock is made as long as the slowest stage. Okay, so dia akan kira satu clock cycle ni berdasarkan how long does it take to finish the slowest stage, which is stage 4 ni lah. Disebabkan dia kena access the memory. So, the determine stage yang keempat ni adalah stages yang paling lambat sekali untuk dia execute ataupun dia nak complete it. So, bila dia nak completekan stage keempat tu, dia akan kira berapa lama dia nak completekan. So, itulah lamanya berapa tempohnya tu untuk satu clock cycle. Okay, several significant advantage over single cycle execution is that unused stages in a particular instruction can be skipped or instructions can be pipeline. Meaning that kalau kita buat kalau kita buat pecah-pecah macam ni kita buat satu small ataupun kita kata one multiple cycle CPU. Maknanya satu small clock cycle. Okay. And then untuk run satu stages kita kata. Okay. So advantages dia adalah bila kita pecahkan to several stages, kita boleh pipeline kan dia. Okay. To improve the instruction, to improve the performance. Ataupun lagi satu adalah unused stages can be skipped. So masa tu kita boleh cepatkan juga. Okay. So sebelum tu yang ni adalah revision juga. All instruction needs are 32 bits long. And then we only have 3 format. One is R-type, I-type and also J-type. Okay. So I hope that on chapter 7 you have managed to decode. Okay, decode your MIPS instruction into R-type format or I-type format or J-type format. So please practice that lah. Okay, so the different fields are OP tu adalah opcode. Okay, whereby it is the operation of the instruction. And then we have RS, RT and RD, which is the source and destination register specifiers. So means that RD2 is always the destination and then RS and RT is the source. RT can sometimes be a target. Okay, because of it can be a source and also a destination. And then another field adalah yang kita ada kat sini adalah shift amount and also function. So function is variant operation ataupun kita kata operation especially to specify in R type. Okay. And then address or immediate ni adalah sama ada dia akan jadi immediate value ataupun kita kata offset. Okay, and then yang dalam target address dalam J type adalah yang mana kita kata target address untuk jump instruction, kat mana kita nak jump. Okay. Okay, and then bawah MIPS ni ada beberapa subset. Kita panggil subset tu disebabkan dia variant, dia ada variant bawah MIPS ni. For example, add U, sub U, kita kata macam tu kan. U ni bermaksud unsigned. Okay, bermaksud unsigned. Okay, so unsigned bermaksud dia akan ignore positif ataupun negative sign. So dia akan treat everything as a value. Okay, lagi satu or immediate. Okay, or immediate is a MIPS. Okay, like subset lah. Okay, or immediate ni load and store word. Lagi satu branch. Okay, lagi satu adalah branch. Okay, branch kadang-kadang ada BEQZ. Okay, branch equal BEQZ. Branch greater than. Yang tu semua MIPS like subset lah. Dia ada subset-subset kat bawah branch ni lah sebenarnya. Okay.